partners at Spetz on how AI tech can help you get more moving leads. So I'd like to welcome everyone and introduce our speaker, Norm from Spetz. Could you give a quick intro to everyone about yourself, and then we can jump into the presentation?
Sure. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for inviting us. Very pleasure for us to be here. As you can see with my brief bio there, spent a lot of time in technology. Started off in telecom, but all of a sudden telecom became technology very quickly. So, the name of the game today is technology. Spent a lot of time with startups in terms of introducing services, solutions to consumers, to businesses. And the company I'm with currently now at Spetz is a fantastic solution, which uses some latest technology that's on the market. And I want to talk to you in general about, leads and how companies go about getting them today, and maybe a little bit about how we use our technology to give our customers some of the best and most valid leads that are on the market today. So that's who I am. Thanks.
Cool, great. Thanks, Norm, for joining. So before we get into a bit about what Spetz does today, maybe you could talk a little bit about, we've got some challenges here that you and I've talked a little bit about when you think about moving businesses or just home service businesses in general. What are some of the challenges that you see in terms of companies looking for new customers and getting leads? Maybe we can go through some of these ideas that you've got here.
Sure. Look, today, generating leads, I'm sure most of you have experienced as well, that they're quite expensive, depending, on the means that you use to acquire leads. But generally speaking, leads are expensive. Leads are obviously valuable. So, in terms of what I'm an expert here is number two is, must do social media well. In today's day and age, everybody has to be using social media to promote themselves from any type of service, from dog walking, moving, plumbing, electricians, everybody has to promote themselves on social media. Some of the generic ones, I guess, will say Facebook, Instagram stories, those are the more well-known ones, but through affiliations with other companies, you can also promote yourself that way. So, there really isn't, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't have time to do it nowadays. You've got to be doing it. So social media is extremely important, promoting your company. And obviously social media uses a lot of good technology, but, there are other solutions on the market that give you we call it a competitive edge by using, latest and greatest technologies. Social media is a way of promoting yourself. We'll call it an electronic flyer. So people used to get flyers, still do, and they read them and they look for, service providers, that sort of thing. But today, it's more, social media based. Everyone's on their phone. So they're gonna look for these things on their phone, whether it be through, networking groups, community groups. When it comes to these kinds of services, they're always asking for referrals. Do you know anybody? Do you know anyone who can do this? So you've got to find a good way of using technology so that your name, your company logo, whatever it may be, is mentioned in as many places. You want to get as good as, I guess, a breadth of scope in terms of your coverage. So technology today can allow you to do that, and in some cases, fairly inexpensively. So it's really putting the whole thing together to create a solution, a combined solution that can give you the most exposure with the most qualified leads coming your way. Because we talk about high cost of leads. The worst thing to do is get leads that are, tire kickers. We're all busy. We're all dealing, with our day-to-day jobs, especially on the service side. So if you're going to take a call, you're going to take a lead, and they're just looking for a price quote or for some other, generic questions, they could lead to a closed customer later on. But, you like to see the more hotter leads, the more pressing, customer need that you can satisfy, immediately. Those are the kind of the best leads we want. So technology today allows you to find them. We call them the SOS in some cases. I need to be at a quick move. I need to take this refrigerator, whatever it may be. I need it, right away. So, in the moving space, that happens a little less, but it does definitely happen. So you want to be able, to get those kind as well. And technology enables, to search the markets, to search people who are looking for, an immediate service provider. And then we try to put the two together, and they find them for you, and then they hand them off to you and say, here's somebody who needs something right away. And technology behind the scenes allows you to I guess, leverage that, and it's doing all the work for you, so to speak. So to be smart, you have to use technology to do, the heavy lifting for you. And then the best way is that these hot leads come to you and just take the order and you schedule the appointment. And we talk about moving. Obviously, all these service providers are facing a competitive landscape. Moving, I find moving more so than others. It's just because, people start getting, price sensitive. Someone else quoted me this, without the same sort of details, so it's almost sometimes an apples to orange comparison. So it kind of puts you in a harder spot in terms of trying to, convey that message to the customer. Well, did you tell them you need this, or is it a long distance, maybe too far away and they didn't know that, and all these sorts of things that, when it comes to, moving, these little small factors play a role in, the customer not getting the full picture, and sometimes say, oh, well, they're cheaper, and they just sort of walk away without, not looking at, the reviews. Did they botch up their last move and someone didn't post that, or someone did post it and they didn't see it? So, to another point, when we're talking about the competition, reviews, in this space, are gold, we call them, because, when you get reviews, people want to, they get firsthand reports that, that they used your company, the results are great, the service was fantastic, the customer service, that was polite and cleaned up after themselves. And that's the kind of stuff that, customers, or at least potential customers, want to see and read about your company. So without going too much on a tangent, because some points I want to raise here, but I guess we'll keep to the slides in the script. So we'll do that in the next one. But, and at a high level, these are the challenges that we find that service providers are facing today. Leads are expensive, so they want to, maintain those costs. But again, they want to get the qualified leads. So balancing the two, sometimes qualified leads come at a higher price, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the way. Technology can help you find those qualified leads at a lower cost. Okay, and I guess we'll stop right there. Matt, we'll think. Hopefully, I got that.
Yeah, no. I think that's great. We see the same thing too from the OnQ perspective. We see, because we are a software solution that acts as a CRM solution for local moving companies. We know that, movers are very, aware of what the cost is per lead, and are actively trying to find cheaper channels to acquire new customers. Obviously, using technology, everything, things are changing all the time. So, trying to stay ahead of it and staying that one step ahead of your competitor, who may not be thinking of this newest solution and what's out there, and doing things a bit more old school. That is an opportunity to really, differentiate yourself. And in addition to the ways you would differentiate your service through, like, five-star reviews and compliments and referral business from customers. So
right.
That's great.
To your point,
Okay. Yeah.
If I can just add one point, because I
Yeah,
talk
please.
about high cost leads, right? But people assume technology is expensive. So sometimes they get put off and saying, no, I can't afford, technology. It's too expensive. I don't have a developer. I don't have, any in-house expertise, or even my technological, experience or know-how is not that high. So in today's day and age, when we talk about technology, in many cases, it comes at an inexpensive cost. And you don't have to be some sort of developer program to use it. It's very, like any other app you would use. Technology today is available, and it's packaged that it's, very simple to use. So pretty much everyone can take advantage of it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Well, I'm sure, with that, I guess let's get right into what Spetz is. And so I'm just going to go to the next page here. Yeah, so I think this would be really helpful if you could go through a little bit of what the product is and how Spetz uses AI technology to help moving company owners and just other service providers to solve some of these challenges.
Sure. So at a high level, Spetz is a publicly traded company. We call multinational, in that we operate in different markets globally, with our recent launch in the US late last year. And we use the AI-powered, we call marketplace platform. So AI plays a significant role in terms of how we position our solution. That little side screen there that's our homepage on the app. Gives you, very, very easy to use app, very intuitive. Like any other app that you mostly downloaded, operates the same easy way to use. And what we do is we allow the consumer to connect with a specialist, in this case, let's say moving companies, within 30 seconds. So somebody, again, you can be planning a move for 2 months from now, but nonetheless, when you put that request through Spetz, the consumer does, they'll get a call back within 30 seconds. Let's say within a minute, someone will call them back immediately. And then you can schedule that, 2 months down the road and get that off your checklist. Or if you have a quick move, something, or there was a move and there's something left behind that, you didn't, you have nowhere to put it. I need this refrigerator moved. I need this bookshelf moved. I need someone quickly to take it out. So that, the 30-second response rate is fantastic there. So someone responds to you very quickly, and then you can satisfy that demand very, very easily. Now, what we try to do is we use the word, we try to Uberize the solution in terms of getting something. You need a cab, you need an Uber, you go to the app and boom, someone's on the way. Same idea here. You're looking for some sort of service provider, a solution. You need a service done immediately. You go to the Spetz app, whether it be, let's say, painter, electrician, mover, whatever it may be, dog walker. There's about 400 plus services in the application. So we cover the gamut there, but you put your request in and then they'll immediately call you. And you'll get a call back from Spetz, ask if you've been satisfied with whoever called you back. And you can say, no, I want to speak to a few other people. And Spetz will automatically have other service providers call you. And then you can speak to as many as you'd like until you're satisfied and select one, or you don't have to, but you can. Most time the consumers are calling with a specific need. So as I mentioned to my earlier slide, is that the quality of the leads are quite good. They're quite strong in terms of who is using the apps on the consumer side.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe we can just break down a little bit back on a couple of things you said. But you talked a bit about just being a marketplace, and I know some of our customers are using Thumbtack and Angie. How is this similar and also different from some other marketplaces where movers may be looking to get leads and new customers?
Sure. So the U.S. market has a lot of players in the space. Angie and Thumbtack are probably the biggest. So in that respect, in terms of connecting the consumer with the service provider, that's what we do. So we're alike in that respect. But that's pretty much where it kind of stops, because our differentiator is that our service providers, we don't collect the payment on behalf of them. So the service provider, will tell the consumer the price. They'll collect payment directly from the consumer. So Spetz kind of stays out of that part of the business. All we want to do really is be the matchmaker, so to speak, and just connect the two together. And what we do also is that on our service providers are given exclusivity. So if I call up and I say I'm looking for a mover, so the request goes out, and then the mover will call me, the moving company will call me, and they have the exclusivity. Nobody else was sent my lead except the one to that particular moving company. Now they have a certain window to reply back to me. If they satisfy that, then they have the exclusive lead, which the other companies don't do that. So we provide exclusivity, we provide a low cost. Okay, so like I say, we try to keep ourselves out of your business. So you charge whatever you'd like to charge, you collect the payments between you and the consumers. What we like to do is give our consumers the ability to connect with a service provider quickly. And like we say, 30-second response time. If you're not happy, they can ask for more, but initially it's an exclusive offer to the service provider.
Cool. So, and maybe we could talk a little bit about that too, in terms of just, the technology itself. Is it similar technology in terms of or how is this, if you're purely looking at like the back end of how this works, maybe you could talk a little bit more how this is different.
Okay, sure. So we use artificial intelligence. So it is AI powered. What that means basically at a very high level is that, for example, when a service provider signs up to our platform, we take them through certain, we call it a setup process. So they will tell us the services that they provide. So some providers, will do more than one thing. So, the movers can do also rubbish removal, junk removal sometimes, so you can expand your offering within the application. And you can then, through your sign up, you'll select the different services that you offer, that it can be very, very similar, very, connected to your main business. You'll give us, the area of coverage. So you'll take a particular radius, 10 miles, 25 miles within whatever city you're operating, New York, it could be San Francisco, Miami, even smaller cities. So you'll geographically select on a map what area coverage you want to do. So obviously the bigger the area of coverage, the more likelihood you'll get more calls, and also your availability. So those that are available 24/7, obviously will have more coverage. Those that do 9 to 5 will have less. And again, when you set up on our platform, you say 9 to 5. So what that means really, you don't have to tell us when you're going to be actually operational, is when you want to accept calls. So you may accept calls from 8 in the morning until 10 at night, but you only do your business between 9 and 5. So you select, 8 to 10, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. as your coverage, is your availability, which is quite good. Holidays, weekends, even better. Okay, so all this feeds into the algorithm that Spetz has developed. Okay, so using artificial intelligence, this goes into the algorithm. So the computer now knows, the software knows that, ABC Moving, is available 24/7, including holidays and weekends. They cover 25-mile radius, excuse me, in New York City. Okay, and they offer not only moving, but they also offer, they'll sell boxes and, any sort of packaging related to moving, tape, boxing, any sort of paper to wrap things in. Again, so these are some, ancillary services that people can be looking for. So therefore, you have a bit we'll say the software sees you as a larger offering, in the sense that you're available more, you cover a greater area, you offer more services. Okay, so that's the basis premise that the software decides how to connect you with a consumer. Now, as I mentioned earlier about reviews, we also add that into the artificial intelligence. So every time you get a review, that also feeds into the algorithm. So it's part of the model that they use. So all good reviews obviously pushes the service provider to the top of the list. So those that have better reviews, that, again, like I say, cover wider areas, availability more, they'll be getting more calls. So if someone looking for a moving company through the Spetz app in your geographic region, you'll get that lead exclusively for the initial point. Hopefully you call them back right away, and then you book them for a move. And that's pretty much how the artificial intelligence works. We also, on the other side of the equation, on our marketing, we use artificial intelligence as well to match up, that we have enough service providers to match the consumers. So when we have a lot of consumers, let's say, looking for moving companies in a particular city, and we have, let's say, one or not even any movers, the model is able to bring them together very quickly, which our competitors can't do that to the degree that we use the technology. So there's never a lack of the service providers, and in most cases there isn't too bad of a lack of consumers. So we try to keep the balance between both. And so our happy customers are those that get the good response, and on the other side, that get qualified leads.
Well, why don't I think you have a screenshot to hear how it works, and maybe we could summarize a little bit of how Spetz works and how you use the technology to do this. But before we do that, maybe we've been talking a bit about who this is designed for. Is it hard to get up to speed for someone who is maybe newer to technology, who isn't using their phone as much in terms of booking new job? How is this geared for them? How have you been able to onboard local moving companies with varying degrees of kind of familiarity and comfort using technology?
Yeah, the software is very easy. If you've downloaded Uber, you've downloaded, let's say, WhatsApp, then you can download Spetz. It takes you through all the steps. It's very intuitive. If you have to answer a question beyond your address, it's either a yes or no. You tap that, and then you sign up very easily. In our sign-up process as well, we have what we call use now, pay later. So a credit is afforded to some of our service providers. So you sign up, and then you start getting leads, and then at the end of the month, you'll be charged for that. So it's no upfront payment as part of the sign-up. So it's very easy to use. We want to make sure that you get a good feel for it. There's something, this is working out for me, and you continue on. So we're not asking for money up front before you've tried it. So we're saying try it. We give you a line of credit, so to speak, and then you go ahead and start using the service. So once you're signed up, and again, what that includes is your name, company name, your address, phone number, and then, like I say, beyond that, it's just asking you to select your service types, your geographic area, and your availability, and then you're in business.
Well, yeah, that sounds pretty easy. I know we've got probably some, Power OnQ customers here that are using all different types of lead sources in there. I mean, one of the things I know, that asked in the past around just integration. So, are you integrating with or plans to integrate with OnQ or other solutions out there? What is the kind of the next phase of Spetz look like?
Right. So that's a good point, because we want to make sure that Spetz is an app that integrates with many of our ancillary partners, that we can help each other, so to speak. So we get the leads. We want the leads to sit inside your OnQ platform, making it very easy to use. So integration is on the roadmap. and that will be, something that we're planning on doing as well. So the idea is when the Spetz leads come through, we can automatically populate inside OnQ. You book them, it'll go into the OnQ calendar. So making a very, that's the idea with our partnerships, is that they have to be very inclusive, and we don't want people using, flipping between apps. So definitely the plan is to integrate, and we do integration is a very part of our marketing.
Cool. Well, I know, we've gone through a lot here. I'll just kind of remind folks who have joined, if you've been on a Zoom webinar before, there's a Q&A button there. Feel free to tap that if you have any questions for me or for Norm. One of the things I thought we could also just talk a little bit about too is any sort of feedback or any sort of research or any sort of insights you're getting from local moving companies. I know you've been at this, prior to the US, you've been in other markets. Anything that you're hearing from local moving companies that would be helpful to share with this audience? Sure.
Look, as I said, it's a very competitive business. So, and most moving companies that are using the platform are, besides some, we'll call it a skeleton office staff that's, handling, let's say, any sort of incoming calls or bookings or billing questions. Owner operator usually on the job, with the phone in a pocket. So the idea is that they just want to, if you're going to send me a lead, obviously make it someone who's not wasting my time or wasting my office staff time, which is really important. So to that point, I just want to show, because we have the slide up here also, is that, for example, that's what a lead looks like when you're using the Spetz app. Okay, so it says right there, new exclusive service call. So you get the number, you tap on it, and then it automatically puts the call out to the consumer. So keep in mind, though, that all our customer leads are verified. So what that means is that if, let's say, I'm looking for a mover, and Matt's my moving company. So I will get a verification through Spetz. I say I'm looking for a mover. Spetz then automatically calls and confirms that's what I'm looking for. And then if I'm using the app, it automatically, I'm verified through the user of the app. So any lead you get has been verified. It's not somebody who just out of nowhere is playing around with an app or looking for something else that's going to be calling you. So they're verified. We match the location and your hours of availability. So we're not going to get someone calling, hi, can you do, midnight, can you do that? Can you move something for me at midnight? So if you put down that your operational hours, are from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., you won't get that because, that's out of your area. So no, the idea, again, what we're hearing, Matt, is that, we don't want to be having our time wasted, whether it be, not qualified leads or people just calling us and kicking tires and asking us questions. We want to get some, quality stuff. And that's what you get. So even the lead that comes into your phone, you just tap it and it automatically puts a call out and you're connected with the customer immediately, okay? And then you have that information on file after later on, so you can call and follow up if you like to them. And again, the big point here really is that we pride ourselves on exclusivity. No one else is doing that. Our competition is giving, the consumer lead to as many moving companies as they can, okay? We give it exclusively to the one that the algorithm identifies as being the best match for that consumer. And then you go ahead and you have exclusivity for a certain amount of time to call them. If the customer requests more people to call them, that's okay. But generally speaking, the exclusive leads that do connect with the consumer at a very high percentage rate close.
Well, actually, and I asked if there were any questions, and we've got a bunch of questions right at the end of the hour. So I'm going to try to. I appreciate all the questions here. I'm going to try to combine a couple here just in the sake of time. But one of the questions that you are just building on that was around, you talk about verified customers a little bit, and what's the information you collect from people who are looking to move? That would be helpful. And then there was a question around, just the exclusivity aspect of it. What are you typically charging for leads, and what are closing rates look like? So I know we're not going to get a chance to answer all those questions, but maybe you could, Norm, talk a little bit about maybe just what are we collecting from the consumer end in terms of information, and then also a bit about just kind of like the metrics on the leads themselves and the time that we have.
Sure. Okay. So look, from our perspective as well, as we have to understand both sides of the equation here. So obviously the service providers like to get as much information as they can. Again, we don't want to ask too much that we, turn the consumer away, and then, they're not filling out a questionnaire and then they go somewhere else. So we try to understand when this, for example, I'll use moving as an example. When you need the service, what is the service you're looking for? Where do you need the service provided? And then that is handed off to you. And at that point, you need to find out the more details about, how many rooms are we talking about, what pieces, what are the largest pieces, that sort of thing. So definitely there has to be that, we'll call it discovery, that you need to, ask those questions. But the idea of qualification is that we know that somebody is looking for your service in your area. We verify that, and then you get that lead. What our rates are typically, we typically charge, works out about $39 a lead. Okay, so, and our leads are quite good. The close rate is very high. Again, it depends by services. Moving is a good one, because we find that when they're qualified, they're less tire kickers, and therefore the close rate is quite high. And we feel, through our market research, at $39, it's a very cost-effective way of getting new business. And as I mentioned also, when we use the artificial intelligence, we're able to bring our costs down in terms of finding the right matches between the service providers and the consumers, because we do our marketing as well. We market out to consumers. So that's a cost that we also have. But through our technology, we bring that cost down low, and we pass that cost down to our service providers. Because at $39, and for example, moving, we find that's a very reasonable rate for a qualified lead. When the average move at a very low end is a couple $100 to a very high, in thousands. So that's how we try to position it.
Well, that's great. And I think, we're at kind of like at the 30-minute mark. So you mentioned a little bit of like how it tried out. And I know there were a bunch of questions here that unfortunately we didn't get to, but I thought, just a reminder here that, for folks that are joining that haven't tried Spetz yet, we have the $100 free credit for OnQ Mover. So if you're attending the call, or you haven't already checked it out, this is the sign up there. It's a bit long, so we'll make sure that in the recap that we send out, if you've registered, you'll get that. Norm, anything you want to say about this in terms of just the special offer here and how it works before we wrap up?
Sure. No, this is I think a great offer at $100. So that's at least 2.5, three good leads. Okay, for free. And also, as I mentioned, we have the use now, pay later, so you get a 200 credit, $200 line of credit when you sign up. So, I think that's a great offer in terms of getting your feet wet, in terms of trying it out. Once you start getting the leads, you'll see that this thing works. We were, like I said, mentioned, working in a few countries globally, and doing for many, many years. And I think the US is really going to learn the simplicity of our solution, and which everybody wants to. They want just give it to me easy, give it to me at low cost. And that's what we're trying to provide to our U.S. service providers.
Yeah, easy and low cost. That makes sense. Well, if you're watching this right now, you can obviously take a screenshot of this page. But as I said, we'll make sure to send it out in the recap. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to answer everyone's questions. That's great that everyone was engaged and had some questions. I will just, if you have questions that we didn't get to, you can always email us at hello@onq.co. That is the kind of our main inbox. I will take a look at those and send those out to the Spetz team. But I also just, some of these things you just have to try it yourself to see how it works. And this is why we have the offer out there. So I didn't encourage folks who are curious, or others who haven't already tried Spetz to check this out. And I guess with that, Norm, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting us.
Okay, everyone, have a good rest of your week and look for more webinars from the OnQ team. Thanks, and have a good rest of your week. Thanks.
Thank you.